Welcome in, everyone, to episode 6 of Paid for Play, powered by PickCity.com. Please be sure to head over to the Daily Bread Media or Yonkers CFB YouTube channels so that if you want your comments to be included in this show, Twitter has disabled our access or our ability to put those comments in the stream via Twitter. So head over to the YouTube channel so we can add in everybody who wants to be in the stream. With that being said, today we have the original squad all back together, plus Sosa, here for maybe the best college football slate to date on the season. Fellas, I want to know how you're feeling about the day, so let's get into it. JD, we'll start with you. How you feeling, man?
Yeah, I'm doing all right. I'm the West Coaster here, so it's 7 a.m, but we're feeling good. I can never sleep college football from Friday to Saturday. Woke up, it was about 4:30 in the morning, didn't go back to sleep, decided to bang out some more bets and some DFS lineups, so I'm ready to go.
Yeah, I was telling Goose right before we started, it kind of like I woke up around like 7, couldn't really go back to sleep. It kind of had that Christmas morning feel where it just like from noon to 2 a.m. you probably have something good that you can bet on, and it's not like you don't feel as degenerate as you might have the last couple of weeks where you're just betting on gross games to try and get back. But Goose, how you feeling today?
Yeah, I'm feeling great. I got the Rutgers on. Hitting up a train right after this show. Gonna hit the bars and gonna watch Rutgers chop Ohio State. I'll talk a little about that later.
All right, Sosa, how you feeling about the day?
Man, I'm feeling great, bro. I'm just, glad to be on with you guys. I'm no hangover. Great night last night. Great time. But
hasn't hit you yet.
We're right back to it. Right back to the money. You know the deal. Right back to it, man. Nothing stops. We just keep it rolling. It's the weekend. Let's get paid.
Yeah. So we'll just go ahead and get right into the slate. We have a lot of games we can possibly talk about, but we'll start with top 10 matchup. Kicking off the day at noon, Arkansas getting 16 right before this stream. I don't know if it's changed at all. Going to Georgia, over under set at 49.5. Goose, you have any plays on this one or any feelings? You're on mute, my guy.
Yeah, so I don't have an official play on this game. Last week, I had the under in the Arkansas-Texas A&M game, and I pretty much feel the same feeling. No official play, but I just think with the great run defense that Georgia has, I think they're going to slow down the game. It's going to be a little neutralized against Arkansas's great running attack. And I think I would have liked it at 49. That's why there's no play. I want to say it's at 47.5 now.
Did it drop? Before the show, it was at 49.
Was it?
Yeah.
I'll take a look. It's still no official play. I'm comfy with I'll give out my card later. But yeah, I just think not 10 to 20 like the Arkansas A&M game, but another like low scoring game. But I know JD is excited for this one, right?
Newest member of the Arkansas bandwagon, JD, that is to you.
Oh, I'm fully on the bandwagon. I don't even pretend. I'm wearing my Arkansas shirt. And you can say I'm a bandwagon fan. And, hey, I totally am. I admit that. But how many Arkansas games have all these other bandwagon fans been on? Because, I've been to Razorback Stadium. I'm in, baby.
This season, too.
Hell yeah.
I mean, that's just commitment going all the way across country just to get a look at Sam Pittman's Hogs. I love what Arkansas has done this year. I'm not going to take anything away from them, but they're not the number 8 team in the country. It's just, to me, it feels like maybe they're a little overrated, but I mean, you can't complain if you're an Arkansas fan with the start you've had to the season. I just think Georgia is that much better, and Arkansas is coming in the game a little banged up. So I have 2 official plays on the game. I'm on Georgia first half, Georgia full game. I just don't see how Arkansas is going to be able to move the ball on the defense, especially if KJ Jefferson leaves the game again. So, Sosa, do you have anything on the game? Oh, we got Woody Page coming back. Georgia in a bloodbath. All right. Well, we'll just go ahead and move on. I don't think anybody else has anything else on the game. I mean, we got Woody Page back in action, full show today. We'll move on to Michigan going to Wisconsin, and somehow Michigan is an underdog. Goose, we'll go right back to you. You're the resident Big Ten guy on the show. What are your thoughts here?
So we've been seeing the stat float around that Harbaugh is 0-12 when he's an underdog at Michigan. And that is a very worrisome stat. I just this is going to, again, be not official, but I really do lean Michigan because Wisconsin has a great defense, and we've seen them play some great teams. They played Notre Dame and they played Penn State. Both those games, they just turned the ball over so much. Like they had chances in both those games. Against Notre Dame, they gave up a kick return and 2 pick sixes in the second half, and it's just like that Notre Dame played really well that game, but that just feels like an outlier almost. Like the way it was, the blowout it was. I think Wisconsin's a good team, but they shoot themselves in the foot too much. So I don't see why they wouldn't turn the ball over again too much against this Michigan team. They have a great run defense, but Michigan has a great running attack. They'll keep pounding you, and I look for Michigan to pull off the upset today.
Okay. There's a stat that's been going around that it's not the Harbaugh underdog stat, although I have no belief in Harbaugh as like to win a big game at Michigan. Like he's just shown time and time again they just can't do it. When a ranked team is an underdog to going on the road to an unranked team, I don't know the exact stat off the top of my head, but the unranked team usually covers, and it's at like a significant clip. I don't know, JD, do you have anything on the game?
I don't have the exact stats, but that's one I write down every single year. So I don't know if I have enough confidence in Wisconsin play, but I'm a firm believer in that angle. Public money comes in on the ranked team every time, and it's proved time and time again it doesn't mean shit, especially when it's on the road.
Yeah, and I mean this one was a pick closer to the beginning of the week, and I feel like most of the money has gone toward Michigan. At least everyone I've heard has been on Michigan, and yet that spread just gets bigger and bigger for Wisconsin. So Sosa, Woody Page, anything for you?
I agree. I agree though that I can't stand Harbaugh. But
I got nothing. I got nothing better to say than that. I mean,
great total of 43.5. What a Big Ten game.
You got any punter stats for us this week, Goose?
Nah. I mean, Rutgers punter last week. I told you all. 20.5 was just too much last week when Rutgers.
It was. I think we all cashed on Rutgers there. I mean, it seemed like a perfect look ahead spot. So we'll move on to what Sosa really is here for. Notre Dame taking on Cincinnati in South Bend. Cincinnati is a slight favorite, -1.5. Over under set at 50.5. This is, if not the best game of the day, or it's one of the 2 best games of the day, in my opinion. I think Cincinnati coming off a bye week last week, Michigan or Notre Dame had to go play Wisconsin, even though they ran away with it late. It was still a very physical game for Notre Dame. And it's the biggest game in Cincinnati's career or Cincinnati's program history. I don't know how. I know Sosa's got his fandom coming out. It's about to. Let's just start with you, Sosa. What do you got on the game?
Hey man, listen. The game's not on NBC. It's on Peacock. Fuck the entire program for doing that and moving the games to Peacock. I want to actually say that. That's the one negative thing I have to say about Notre Dame. How the fuck you move the games from NBC to an app? That's so stupid. All right.
I didn't know it was on Peacock.
Yeah, all the games, they're no longer on NBC. The games are on an app, bro. This shit's so fucking stupid. I don't get it.
Yeah.
But listen, y'all know I'm a Notre Dame fan. This pick isn't off of being a Notre Dame fan or anything of the sort. This Cincinnati team has gotten they've gotten grandfathered into this season as an undefeated team during the regular season last year. We put a lot of stock. We're putting a lot of stock into how they performed last year, and I think that each game that goes by, because they win, we're inclined to just leave them on that same tier as last year. They didn't win a championship or anything last year per se, right? But they were right there as far as like, if we're talking like college basketball, like first one out, right? Like one of the first ones that didn't make the playoff. This Cincinnati defense is not as good as it was last year. They've played 3 trash cans of opponents. You're going to go on the road against Notre Dame. Again, over the last 3 years, look at the teams that have beaten Notre Dame. A 1.5 line. I'm still trying to figure out how they made Notre Dame underdogs in this situation. Is it the number next to their name? Because nothing outside of the quarterback being a better prospect, Cincinnati's better at. Cincinnati also, their defensive coordinator is now working at Notre Dame. So, I mean, and I mean, maybe that makes sense as to why the defense isn't as good as last year. So, I mean, that's part of it for me. I think for me, it's just a clear and obvious situation. Cincinnati gets 2 Power 5 schools. They beat Indiana. They're going to get clapped today. They're going to get the break speed off them, and people want it to be a close game, and it's going to sound good, and we're going to beat the dog shit out of Cincinnati today. It's not even going to be close. Just like last week against Wisconsin, or when we played Wisconsin, everybody say, but this, but that. Cone played at Wisconsin. They got a book on them, bro. Also, I'll go as far as to say this. I don't give a fuck if it's the backup quarterback playing for Notre Dame. We're going to smoke them. We're going to beat the shit out of them. It's not even going to be close. 1.5, that's a joke. Money line, Notre Dame. If you can get an alternate spread, get some minus points next to Notre Dame. Yeah, that's how confident I am.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Anyone else? Goose?
Yeah. So I'm actually on the Cincinnati side. Look, as I said earlier, they beat Wisconsin, but I still feel like, with the turnovers, with the return 6, like it was a closer game. I know they're riding high. I look at the Cincinnati team. We have 6 pass catchers on Cincinnati with 5+ catches, and no one has more than 10. This is a very diversified offense. They run the ball 50% of the time. They pass the ball 50% of the time. They have all these pass catchers, and I just feel like there's so much talent on the Cincinnati team. I really think they're the real deal. I guess we'll find out today. And while Cincinnati's defense hasn't been like last year's, they're still opportunistic. They got 3 interceptions off of Michael Penix. They're going to take their chances. Their run defense isn't as strong, but Notre Dame hasn't been able to run the ball too well. So I just think this is Cincinnati's strength, their pass defense against Notre Dame, a more pass-happy team. I think I expect Cincinnati to control the ball on the ground a little more. He's a dual-threat quarterback. I just think, this is at Notre Dame. This is Cincinnati's small school. Name-wise, David versus Goliath, and I just think the Cincinnati team has more talent, to be honest. But we'll see today. Best of luck, Sosa. I know this is your team.
They listen. Goliath got a gun. All right. No, ain't no slingshot. Ain't no slingshot. Ain't no slingshot for this boy. Goliath got a gun. An AK-47. This ain't not a fair fight.
JD, what you got on it?
I got nothing. I pull for Notre Dame too. I watch all their games. So I guess it's on Peacock, so I don't know if I'll be able to watch. But no, I don't have as much confidence as Sosa, but there's no way I could bet Cincinnati in this spot. To tell you how much confidence I did not have in Notre Dame, so I'm not a loyal fan. I bet Wisconsin last week. That was the worst bet I've made all year. It was that bad. But I think what that game showed is that, yeah, the final score is misleading. They're clearly better than Wisconsin, and nobody thought they were going into the week. I think they are undervalued in the betting market. Brian Kelly's been an underrated coach for years and years. He's a top 5 coach. I've been saying it consistently pumping out winners. Whereas Cincinnati, I think these are kind of evenly matched teams, but I don't see any reason why they should be the favorite in the spot. It should be a closely line game, in my opinion, but there's no way I could look at Cincinnati side. That being said, I don't have enough confidence to bet Notre Dame until they get that running game going. But no, I'm looking forward to it. Desmond Ridder, Sosa mentioned it. Like, for some reason, he's getting these draft prospect talks, and if you've watched him in big games, I don't see what the hell you're getting that. If he doesn't run for like 100 yards and 2 touchdowns, I think he's probably going to struggle in this spot. So, yeah, I think playing some of his interception overs is the only way I could look at this.
Hamilton, baby. Yeah, everybody wants to talk about Stingley this, Stingley that. And, yeah, I'm coming for you, Sam. Y'all want to talk about Stingley this, Stingley that. Kyle Hamilton's the best defensive back in the country.
Well, I mean, yeah, because Stingley's off the field. He's not playing.
Nah, even when he is, like, Stingley, it's 1A, 1B. People want to talk. People value the shit out of Stingley, and I love Stingley. I think he's an amazing talent.
But Stingley's only had one good year. I mean, he's going to be the first one and done in college football history that actually goes like top.
Kyle Hamilton's different though, bro. He's different.
I agree. I'm not saying Kyle Hamilton. I'm not going to argue because I'm kind of pissed off at Derek Stingley right now. Because I mean,
he'll never put the uniform on again.
Not a chance.
It's done.
He's gone. But
let me get out of here though, guys. Appreciate y'all. I talk a lot of shit. Make sure if you guys are in here, make sure you guys like the video. And I need y'all to tweet out the link to JD's YouTube because it's not connected to the Daily Bread Media one. Tweet out the YouTube link so we can get that out to people. Obviously, if you're on Twitter, make sure you guys are checking out YouTube. That's where you get your comments heard. You got questions, anything for the for these guys. Appreciate y'all, man. This it's only the beginning. Y'all know it's gonna go up. Make sure y'all follow these guys. They're gonna give you their best looks for the rest of the weekend. Appreciate you. Peace.
Have a good one. Take care.
Deuces, Sosa.
Deuces.
Yeah, I mean, I hear everything on the Notre Dame side. Like, if I watched Cincinnati up close and personal, like in the Indiana game, and nothing they did really impress me because they should have. If McFadden doesn't go out, I think that's a totally different game. I think Indiana probably pulls the upset because it's 14-0. Indiana has a chance to go up 21-0, at the very least 17-0 going into half. And that game completely changes after that targeting penalty. So it's my Costanza pick for the day. I try to do at least one, especially whenever I start having shitty weeks like last week. All my instincts go towards Notre Dame. So I must do the opposite. So yeah, I'm taking Cincinnati. I'm on that side. I think it's the biggest game in program history, and they know it going into the game. So they're going to be up and ready for it, and they're coming off a bye. So that's all I have to say on it. Let's move on to our next game, maybe the most fun game of the day. Ole Miss getting 14.5, going to Alabama, over-under set for 80.5, the highest in SEC history. JD, what we got, man? Anything?
I know it's tough, and I just had to do it. I feel like I've been talking up Ole Miss all season. I said last week I'm never going to bet against Ole Miss this year, and it's not going to change here. I'm a firm believer in their offense. Now, it does scare me a little bit. Jonathan Mingo, one of their top wide receivers, broke his foot, so he's going to be out. That news just came out last night. So I think that does hurt. But overall, I just think this Ole Miss team, if I'm getting over 2 touchdowns, and I've had pretty good luck with this, any team that has a very dangerous offense, which I think they might have the most dangerous offense in all college football, if you're giving me over 2 touchdowns or over 2 scores, the back door is always going to be open. I think even if Alabama gets out to an early lead here, it's not going to be safe ever. I don't really know if there's a point if you're holding an Alabama ticket where you'd feel safe, even if by some mishap Matt Corral throws 3 interceptions like he does every now and then. If they get out to a 37 lead, like I still don't see how you're safe. This Ole Miss team's going to be playing with tempo and going to be taking shots all game long. So yeah, I played Ole Miss plus 14.5 was the number I got. I think it's still out there, so that's a play. I mean, I would not be shocked if Ole Miss won this game. Now, I understand they're going into Tuscaloosa, and that's a very big ask, but I don't get what we've seen from Ole Miss and what we've seen from Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss that would tell us they're not a live dog. I just don't get that. Alabama has not looked perfect. They were supposed to have the nastiest D-line in the country, nastiest front 7. Florida pushed them around. Florida's had a shitty offensive line for years, and they pushed them around. So I don't think this Alabama team is operating at 100%. I still think they're probably the best team in the country, but they're just not quite there yet. They have a lot of new guys. They're still breaking in. They'll be there by the end of the season. But right now, I think they're vulnerable, and I like Ole Miss. You're giving me, they can still lose by 14 and cover here. I for sure.
Yeah, I'm in total agreement. I mean, the thing for me is as good as Lane Kiffin is in like scheming up passing, like getting guys open in space and everything. They're so effective running the ball. And after what I saw in the Florida game, I think Lane Kiffin's going to definitely find a way to take advantage of that with how susceptible they are to the run, just setting it up even more so for Matt Corral in the passing game. And I mean they were able to score on Alabama last year, and Ole Miss is just a better football team this year. I don't see a way that both teams stay under 38. I feel like 42-38, 45-42 is kind of how this game ends up. And if you're giving me 14.5 with Ole Miss, I'm right there with JD. Their ability to score and score quickly, it's too tempting to pass up. I mean, I think it opened at 20 if you got it earlier, like on Sunday last week, and it's been bet down to 14.5 and then kind of stay right there. I have the over at 77.5. I got that on Monday, and it has since gone up to 80.5. I'd still play it. I mean, I know there's a lot less wiggle room there, but Goose, you have anything on this one? I know you'll be at the Rutgers game, so you won't be able to watch it as much, but do you have any plays for it?
I hear all your points for Ole Miss, and I agree on the Ole Miss full game side, no official. But if I had to make a play, I want the Alabama first half -7. The only problem is the best I'm seeing is -7.5. Since I don't have that touchdown, I have the hook with the touchdown, I don't want to play it. If I can find an Alabama -7 first half, I want that. I think with Ole Miss's firepower, they're never out of it. And just like you guys are saying, this is going to be a big shootout. Ole Miss is going to score. So full game wise, I agree. Plus 14.5 it feels like the right side. It's just my play would be Alabama -7. But again, since the best I'm seeing is -7.5, I can't play it. And
yeah, and
Rory Jones, I agree with you. Like that, I feel like that side Alabama, they dominate in the first half. Ole Miss I'd predict it's probably going to be a 10-point game at half and end a 10-point game at the end of the game.
Yeah, I mean, if I don't remember exactly what if they covered the first half last week in their game, but going after the Florida game, they had covered like 18 straight first half spreads. Like it's money in the bank every week. Only thing that worries me is I kind of get similar vibes to this game as like whenever LSU went in. Like I'm not comparing Ole Miss to LSU in 2019 a couple years ago, but just like that feel where Alabama kind of feels beatable, and you have one of the best play callers in the game going into against a very gettable defense, like who's able to scheme plays where this is just going to be a shootout back and forth. And everyone in the world is, I feel like, on Ole Miss. I mean, I have a money line ticket. I'm not giving that as an official play, but I don't know why you wouldn't sprinkle if you're going to at least throw it on the 14.5. But all right, well, we'll move on from that one. If you have any comments or questions on that one, drop them in the chat. Again, please go to YouTube if you would like to have your comments mentioned. Twitter has disabled our access to put that in the show, so head over to the Daily Bread Media or Yonkers CFB YouTube channels if you would like to have your comments shown. We'll move on to the game that Goose is going to. Ohio State at Rutgers. Ohio State getting 15.5. Is it another punter game, Goose?
Obviously, like, the fandom in me thinks Rutgers is going to win. Because, like, why go to the game if I don't think Rutgers is going to win? I know it's unlikely and all. The one thing I'm holding on to is C.J. Stroud must be pretty hurt. I know they played Akron last week, but they sat him for shoulder injury. He must be pretty hurt. And it gives me hope. I mean, I never wish injury on someone. I hope he's okay. I hope he plays. But if he's banged up, I think Rutgers has a chance. The only problem I have is Rutgers is 4-0 against the spread. They got to lose at some point against the spread. And when Rutgers plays a team like Michigan, I have not full confidence, but like they're not 20-point dogs against Michigan. We saw that last week. The Ohio State athletes are just different. While I'm hopeful for Rutgers, I'm not going to tell anyone to bet Rutgers plus 15.5. I just respect Ohio State too much. I just think I'm going to the game. I'm going to walk into the game feeling good. I'm going to stuff your face right after this. Train is at 10:55. I'm going to walk into the game all big chest. But I'm not going to tell anyone Rutgers plus 15.5 because I respect these Ohio State athletes.
JD, anything?
Yeah, Rutgers has looked great. They're 4-0 against the spread. That's really cool. They've played a Harbaugh offense. Joke. Delaware. Syracuse and Temple. Murderers Row. And now they get Ohio State. They got another thing coming. They haven't faced a team that can throw it over the top. CJ Stroud only sat last week, so they're playing Akron. Akron's a joke, arguably the worst team in all college football. I think he was healthy. He was even rolling his shoulder in the Oregon game, but obviously he played when it mattered. Yeah, I think Ohio State blows them out pretty good here.
It's weird. It's weird having like these playoff team, like or supposed playoff teams that were coming into the year, like getting these like 15-point spreads, 16-point spreads against teams that probably wouldn't. Like in recent years, they'd be favored by like 30 or 31 or something like that. Like Clemson getting 15 or 16, going to Boston College. I don't understand that one. I mean, Ohio State hasn't looked the best this year, but I mean, Rutgers, like you said, hasn't really played anybody. But I have no official plays on it. I just know Goose is going to the game. We get his thoughts on it. We'll move on. Kentucky Super Bowl. Florida coming to town, getting 7.5 at Kentucky. Over under set at 55. JD, official play I think you have in the game. Let's hear it.
Yeah, I played Florida minus 7.5. I just think Florida's looks pretty good. I wanted to be low on them going into the year because they were a pass-first offense last year that lost Tony, lost Pitts, and lost Kyle Trask. That was their entire offense last year, and their offense was their entire team last year. So I wanted to be low on Florida. I don't see how. I mean, I've completely changed my mind. I was completely wrong. The defense looks much improved. They're much improved upon both sides of the line. Dan Mullen's a wizard. He figured it out. All of a sudden, they're running the ball with ease. I think Kentucky is pretty misleading. You look at the two teams they beat. I think they beat South Carolina last week. Big whoop. They beat up on some bad teams early to start. Kind of similar to what I said with Rutgers. I don't think they've played anybody. I don't think this Kentucky team's good. This Kentucky team is not as good as I thought they were. Defensively, they don't look anywhere near as good as I thought they would defensively. So the Florida team total went up. I think I got it earlier in the week at 31. It's at 32.5. So I guess I'd lay off it there. But I played that earlier. Also played Florida minus 7.5. I just think this is going to be pretty easy for them to score here. Yeah, Kentucky's offense does look improved. So that's one thing I'm worried about. Maybe a backdoor. Or maybe they'll hang in this game because it is at home. They're going to be riled up for this one. That's the one concern I have, but I don't really see why I'd be that concerned with the Dan Mullen offense. Like I said, he's proven he's a wizard. He's proven he's going to go into anywhere and score points. So I just need that defense to hold up. And I mean, the defense gave up 31 points to Bama and only 10 points after the first quarter. So yeah, I'm on Florida pretty easy here.
And since we're going head to head on this one, I will counter. This is to Kentucky as Alabama was to Florida. Like this game for Kentucky, they're going to always show up. They're going to give their best effort. I think as someone who lived in like an area with a lot of Kentucky fans growing up, Florida has always been their bugaboo. It's the one team like every year they get up for. So I'm on Kentucky. I just think it's as long as it's outside of a touchdown, I would play it. I think that's the only reason I added it to the card is because I got it at 7.5 before it's moved at all. I think it's still staying at 7.5. But yeah, I just think you're going to get Kentucky's best effort. Florida, I don't know if Emory Jones has any more turnovers in him, but I have been impressed with Florida. I was with you at the start of the season, JD. I thought they were gonna have a major bounce back year, try to reload or just try to get the program back, and it was going to take a step back. So I like Kentucky in this spot. I think it's their Super Bowl. It's the game they get up for most in the year or for the year every year. Goose, do you have anything on this one?
I mean, it's not another not official. I agree with Sam though. I just think the 6 p.m. game, the Super Bowl, the proving we're here point. Kentucky, this is it for them. If they beat Florida, they made it for a little. They're big time SEC. The only problem I have is Will Levis, the quarterback. He is a walking turnover. Emory Jones, same thing pretty much. They both turned the ball over. It's for that reason. Since I think we're going to get a decent amount of turnovers in this battle, I would lean the over. I think we're going to have some short field touchdowns, which will help the over. The problem is if we get a turnover in the red zone, that always kills an over. But I think we're going to see an electric atmosphere. I think that's going to feed both sets of players, and I think we're going to get a nice, not like a shootout per se, but I do like this over 55. I think, like I said, both quarterbacks, they just turn the ball over, whether it's interception or fumbles. So I like points today.
I could see it. I mean, I definitely see this one kind of going like the last few years, even when Florida, I don't exactly remember the final score last year, but for the last few years, it's been a very back and forth game. And I think a lot of people went into this year picking Kentucky as the second best team in the East, just trying to predict Florida taking that step back, and Kentucky kind of figuring it out, the quarterback position. And if you want to prove everyone right, or you gotta win this game. This is the one you have to win. You don't have to go beat Georgia or anything to take that next step, but you do need to beat Florida at home for the first time since 1986. Mm-hmm. That's all you have to do. So we'll see if they can get it done. Goose, do you want to run through your card real quick? I know you got to bounce. If you want to go ahead and run through your card, we'll finish up Auburn LSU after that and get into some DFS and player props with JD afterwards.
I appreciate that. Because I have a train to catch. I'm kind of a little close. So my card today would be I like this Wake Forest Louisville over. I got it at 61.5 earlier in the week, and now we're seeing 63s, 64s. I think both offenses put up a decent amount of points. So I like the Wake Forest Louisville over. Try to get at 63. I wouldn't do it any better than 63. I like Cincinnati money line, minus 125. I think they go into Notre Dame and they dethrone name brand Goliath. I think both are great teams. I like Nevada. It's the third time I'm giving out Nevada on the show. I like Nevada plus 5.5 against Boise State. I personally bought a half point. I got it at plus 6 at minus 120. I think Nevada keeps it close against Boise State. And the last play I like is on the Hawaii game. So if you guys are all down or whatever late, I like Fresno State, Hawaii under 65. I like the under tonight in the Fresno State, Hawaii. So keep tuning in, everybody. Sam and JD have a couple more things for you guys. And hey, let's chop Ohio State. Have a good one, everyone.
Deuces,
Thank you and take care.
All right, JD. We'll get into my game. I don't know if it's the best game of the day, but I mean, Auburn LSU, things always get wild in these games. Auburn hasn't won at LSU since 1999. I'm sure it has been beaten into their head over and over again since the start of the week. I have no idea what LSU team is going to show up at any time this week. So, you have any thoughts on this one?
No, I wouldn't know where to lean. My initial and too closely lined up teams My initial thought would be to take the points with Auburn, but then I saw that same stat you did where they haven't won there since 1999. And I don't know.
And it's the thing where it's a ranked team as an underdog against an unranked team.
Yeah.
The big factor here is if you're going to get a real Death Valley or not. I know it's supposed to be raining there today in Baton Rouge, but it's an 8:00 local kickoff. That's just a lot of time for a lot of Louisianians to drink all day and be very rowdy for that game. If they show up, I think LSU has a major advantage. It'll be the first time like freshmen and sophomores have seen a real Death Valley experience. And you get Road Bo Nix if he plays for at least a little bit, which I think he will start the game. It's just a little too much emotions, I think, for TJ Finley after going from LSU to Auburn. If you go back to LSU as the starting quarterback in a Death Valley, I don't know. It could go really good or really bad for TJ Finley in that spot. So, I mean, I like what I've seen from Max Johnson the last few weeks. I think the defense is getting better. It's just all about if you can stop Tank Bigsby. I mean, I did see that in your card. Do you want to go ahead and get into that one?
Yeah, I forgot I had this in this game. Yeah, that's the one prop I'm giving out right now. LSU's rush defense just hasn't looked great. I get they've been getting a little better, but just hasn't looked great for 2 years now. And this Auburn team, I don't trust them at all for anything. But we don't even know who the quarterback's going to be. They're going on the road facing a rush defense they should be able to have success on. This is the one thing I feel confident about with Auburn in this game. So yeah, I'm taking Tank Bigsby, running back for Auburn, over 77.5 rushing yards. I think that's at least like 20 yards too low listed. That's at FanDuel Sportsbook where that's up 77.5.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing for me is like LSU's defense did get mauled by UCLA's offensive line. Like, I don't think Auburn's offensive line compares to UCLA's. As weird as it is to say that, I mean, it's still kind of weird to think that way. But I mean, LSU's defense is just getting better at fundamentals. Like, they have less busted assignments. They have less missed tackles. It just seems I'm done giving out LSU plays because every time I give one out, it's wrong. So I'm done with that for a while until I can actually find out what this team is going to be. But it's a big one. I mean, if you lose this one, I don't know how many more wins there are going to be on the schedule. So you got to win this one at home in front of a raucous home crowd. But with that, I will digress. I don't have any official plays on this one. We'll get into some DFS talk with JD. Any player props? You did just give out Tank Bigsby over 77.5 rushing yards. I will most likely be adding that to the card. Anything else you're in on for DFS or prop-wise, JD?
Yeah, it's a loaded DFS slate. Like, there's at least like 5-6 games where the total is over 60, and they're all good games. And then you got the Alabama games at 80. So it's a loaded slate, and it's probably pretty obvious who you should go to. So I'm just going to mention some cheaper guys to look at, and so you can fit the Matt Corrals, the Bryce Youngs, the Bijan Robinsons. So some cheap guys I like. Jabari Small, running back for Tennessee, was banged up, came back last week, looked fine. They're playing against Missouri, who's allowing 270 rushing yards per game. They can't tackle anybody. Boston College hasn't been able to run the ball in ages, and Boston College ran the ball over them a week ago. So Tennessee's going to do that same thing. They're also running the highest tempo of any team in the country by plays per minute, and you're getting the running back at 4,400. So yeah, go ahead and throw them in. I got them in way too many lineups. We also got Braylon Sanders, wide receiver for Ole Miss. I mentioned Mingo's out with a broken foot. That means Sanders is going to step up, be the primary guy outside. And he's only 4,800. Hasn't had a great year, but he was also injured going into this year. He's going to get better and better. Had a big game last week. I think he had 17 fantasy points. And now he's going to be the clear second option in a game that's lined at 80. He's only 4,800. Some cheaper options. If you're looking at that Bama game again and you want a cheap option, Jaleel Billingsley, 3,600. He was in Nick Saban's doghouse, came out of the doghouse finally, has a touchdown in back-to-back games, and he's only 3,600. That's way too cheap. So yeah, those are cheap options I'm looking for. Go ahead and pay up if you want to stack Corral and Young. You can. There are cheaper options. If you want to play the 2 running backs, Bijan and Beatty, you can. Just make sure you get a small in there as well. So those are the cheap options I'm looking for.
All righty. We appreciate that. Go build your lineups wherever you can. Take JD's advice. He's the best in the business for a reason. With that, we'll get into the official cards. I have 11 official plays. I'm on Texas -4.5, Georgia first half -10.5. Got that earlier this week. And Georgia -16, Cincinnati -1.5, Ole Miss full game +14.5, Ole Miss Alabama over 77. Like I said, got that earlier this week. I have Oregon -7.5. I don't really trust Stanford. I mean, they got kind of bullied. I didn't get to watch much of the game, but just because it was on Pac-12 Network, our running feud that we have with Pac-12 Network will continue. I don't think Stanford can hang with Oregon. I don't know why they're
Stanford sucks.
So, yeah.
So in Oregon, as somebody who gets to watch their games, they suck. They are not good. That's why Clay Helton got fired, because they lost to Stanford, and Stanford's awful.
Yeah. So I'll take Oregon and the points there, even in a road game. It doesn't scare me off the number. I'll take Oklahoma, Kansas State under 53. Nothing I've seen out of Oklahoma has made me believe they can put up points, or their defense is solid. But just in a game where they have traditionally slipped up against Kansas State, they have a look-ahead spot to Texas next week. I think they try to get in, get out, and win the game, and even if it's ugly. I got Kentucky +7.5, as I mentioned before. Boston College +15.5. I don't know how you don't bet that. Nothing you've seen from Clemson has shown any sort of life this year, and they're playing their first meaningless game in 5 years, 6 years? None of these players on this roster know what it's like to play in a game where you're not trying to compete for the playoff. So I think we might see a little bit of a letdown there. And then to finish it off, Fresno -11 versus Hawaii. I haven't watched Hawaii since week 0, but the lasting image I have is them being maybe the worst team I've ever seen play college football. So I like Fresno, even if it's in Hawaii. I'll take it. Just go to bed and hope I wake up with a winner.
Nice.
Anything more from you that you haven't given out yet?
Yeah, let's see here. So I already gave out Florida -7.5. Everybody here was against me, so we'll see how that one plays out. I'm with Goose on Nevada, which is not the first time I've been on Nevada with Goose. Had some great success one week against Cal, and then awful against Kansas State. But no, I'm just not impressed with this Boise team. I think it's all the name brand. I think Boise's been going down for a couple of years. That's one reason I'm low on Auburn. I don't know how Harsin got that job. Boise was headed on a downward trend, and then he gets upgraded to Auburn. I don't understand that. So I'm taking Nevada. I think that's an even game. Ole Miss +14.5. Mentioned that. I'm on North Carolina. Got them at 18. -18. They're at -19.5. I'd still grab that before it goes to 20. I saw FanDuel still at 19.5. This is a bounce back spot. Duke is awful. Duke has played like Kansas. They played Northwestern. Some of the worst Power 5 schools. I think they're awful. Bounce back spot. Give me North Carolina. I did play the Arkansas game. It's an under I would play anyway with those two defenses. But you got both quarterbacks banged up. JT Daniels is a game-time decision for Georgia. KJ Jefferson's a dual threat who's got a hurt knee and looks like his ankle. He's got something going on there too. So everything about that screams under. Malik Hornsby, very, very fast. Being fast against this Georgia defense doesn't mean anything. You need to be able to throw the ball. And I'm not sure you can right now. I'm also on Fresno, but I took their team total over 37.5. For Fresno guys on this show, I don't know if there's much else to say. Hawaii has not looked good. Fresno is very good. I took Kansas State's team total under, so I know you're on that under as well. They don't have a quarterback. If Skylar Thompson plays, I'll feel a little worse about this one, but they're two backup quarterbacks, man. I love to make fun of those guys. Will Howard is just he's pretty funny. He just trips over nothing, can't throw the ball, and then playing against that Oklahoma defense that, like you said, is the strength of their team this year. I have to play an under there. They're also going to be looking for revenge from Kansas State last year, so I think Oklahoma does them pretty dirty this week. And then last but not least, Tank Bigsby over 77.5.
Yeah. So we did get a question. Thoughts on Pitt versus Georgia Tech? Do you have anything on that one? DFS maybe prop wise. I know it's a loaded early slate, so I'm trying to avoid and that's just my method. If I'm not going to watch it like at all, I try to stay away from it. I would lean Pitt. I haven't really watched either team, but I mean, Pitt -3 at home. The line doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me.
That's the way I would look. I would say Pitt has really not impressed me, having watched some of their games. I think their defense has taken a massive step back, a bigger one than I expected, especially in that secondary. I think they're really weak. But is Georgia Tech really going to stress that secondary? Sims, their quarterback's more of a rusher than he is a thrower. He does like to throw picks. So I think that's a volatile one. Pitt, I will say the only way I could still look is Pitt, because Georgia Tech's on a huge come-down spot after that North Carolina win. And Pitt with Narduzzi, anytime it's like I don't have the stats pulled up in front of me, but anytime it's closely lined, like a field goal or less on either side, +3 to -3. I know I played him against Tennessee in that spot, and that hit as well. When it's a closely lined game, it's just like usually they're the slightly better team. They're just not a team you can trust, is kind of the way the betting market views it. And Narduzzi usually gets it done there. So I do think they're better, and the home team with the field goal. That's the only way I could look at Pitt.
Yeah, I'll take Pitt in a come down spot. I forgot they beat North Carolina last week. So I don't see any other questions in the chat for us. So we will wrap it up. Everyone have a great day. It's a bad day to be a beer. Just great college football slate for the entirety of the day. One more question. Anything on FSU Syracuse?
Only way I could look is FSU. It's tough for me to do, but having watched that, I know I tweeted this out a few weeks ago. The only positive takeaway I had from watching FSU is that their D-line's pretty good. They have some NFL guys on the D-line. Only thing Syracuse has done all year is just slam Sean Tucker into the line. I know I played Sean Tucker under on Prize Picks. They had him up at 23.5. If that's all your offense is doing, and you're going against the only strength of Florida State, which is stopping that, this Florida State team's not great, but they're not 0-5 bad. What are they, 0-4 now, getting a home game against a bad Syracuse team? I actually think that's pretty decent lean on Florida State.
Ooh, that just feels dirty. That feels like a dirty
bad
way to end it right there. But
I'm not on it. I know we got to end with something else.
Yeah, we're gonna end it there. I mean, I don't think I can spin it out of that one. But everyone, we started out talking about all these great games and end with Florida State Syracuse. That's paid for play for you. Everybody have a great day. Let's go win some money, folks, and we'll see y'all next week.
Deuces.